Good morning, everybody, and welcome to MyFM 101.3 and your favorite show on MyFM 101.3, Money and Law.
Oh, of course, it's your
on
favorite.
Saturday mornings here at 9 to 10 with your host, Jay Marston from the Marston Law Group. And I'm John Drohan from Main Effort Financial. And we are in the Christmas and Hanukkah show, as you can see us up here.
Yes!
Yeah, the Christmas.
8 crazy nights.
For those of you who are watching on Holliston Cable Access TV, led by none other than Christian Bidet, who half his name is Christmas.
That's right. Good point.
This is our holiday show. We're getting ready because it's right around the corner.
Well,
I mean,
it
we're a
is
stone's
right
throw
around the
away. We'll probably talk about some of the preparation that we've done for to get ready for the holidays.
Or not.
I know Jay and I have done some preparation. We actually did some preparation last weekend.
Oh, we prepared. That's right. Yeah, we were trying to get merry.
Some holiday cheer. That's
Bring
right.
a little bottled mirth into the equation, which
right.
Which was very effective and successful.
And it works.
Yep,
And it works.
That's right.
But we're also going to talk about some other things because, as you all know, we talk about all things money and all things law. Today, I think we're going to focus more on the legal side, as Jay has the equivalent of the 12 days of Christmas for estate planning.
Oh, nice.
But
right. We're not going to sing it. We're not going to sing
that's
it.
a tease.
That's right.
Which has been done before, as far as singing the 12 days of Christmas. But we'll cover that later on the show. I want to thank you for joining us today, and hope that you're probably out. Everybody's out doing their holiday last minute shopping.
Oh, last minute shopping. Amazon.
So you know what? Stay with us. Stay with us. You know, Amazon, even now, I mean, they're so smart. They have a store in the mall. I realized that. I went there last night.
Does it defeat the whole purpose?
It defeats the whole purpose until you walk into the store, and then you're like, "Wow, this was easy. This is easier than my computer."
Oh, so you get your stuff delivered to that store, and then you go pick it up?
No. If you happen to be in the mall and you're like, "I need to go get some stuff,"
Right.
it's like shopping online, not online.
Oh, okay.
But you're in Amazon Amazon has everything.
Right,
You know,
right.
Everything. Amazon, not a sponsor, by the way. of
Could
Money
be.
and Law.
Jeff, give us a call.
They could.
We'll make you a deal.
Jeffrey.
You can afford it.
That's maybe you could.
Yep.
Maybe you could. All right. One of the other things I like to talk about, we're going to talk about today, is we're just talking to Ray about doing some holiday giving. So if this is like your time of the year, if there's somebody that you know or some organization that you know that might need a little help, and you have the ability to do that, I think we're almost out of time.
By the way, just so you know, it doesn't have to be a car. It doesn't have to be a Lexus. It doesn't have to be. I mean, you don't. If you want to give that away, that's great. But it doesn't have to be that.
It could be a $5 bill.
Could be anything. Could be anything. Yep.
Could be a $4 bill in Jay's case.
Could be, yeah, that's right. That's why I would take
right.
33% of the $5 bill. That's how we roll.
That's
Yep.
right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
$4.
That's right.
Work on a $4 bill. All right. So what's new with you?
Nothing.
You want to talk about the party?
But we can allude to it. I mean, I don't want to make all those people who didn't get an invite feel bad.
Ah.
But for the uninitiated, my good friend and colleague here put together a little holiday event, and
It's formerly the Christmas Eve party.
in true Main Effort financial fashion, John just can't have a party.
Nope.
Okay, that would be boring. That would be un-Drohan-like. John likes to bring, in this case, he pulled in some reindeer games to make the party like the holidays
first
aren't
time.
festive enough.
No.
John takes it it's like what was the movie there? It's like you're going to 11.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's holiday parties at 7. Come in, have some appetizers, catch up. What are you doing for the holiday? Hosting, not hosting? No, not John.
Just reset the bar. That's
John
all.
says, we're going to go to 11. I'm going to put my
Reset the
foot
bar.
down a little bit here. We're going to speed it up, and we're going to do some other antics. And as much as John knows how much I love games at
holiday
parties.
antics?
Yep, holiday antics. I like to create my own antics. I don't like organized antics. I like spontaneous antics. And there were some of those later in the evening. But yeah, I love the concept. You had a great idea, which was the reading, closing out with the reading of the night before Christmas, which I thought was great. And also, I love the singing of the 12 days of Christmas, and of course, in your ridiculously organized fashion, there was actually an assignment. Right? What day of the 12 days you were assigned was based on the
month you were
birthday.
born.
That's right. Which
12
I thought
months.
was great. Yep.
12 months, 12 days.
It's almost like they planned it that
12
way.
12 months,
when they wrote
12
the song.
days,
That's right.
and it worked out all right. And I will say this. I will say when the party was fun, when my cohort and my co-host arrived, it went to a new level. So I want to thank everybody. You know, if they're because I know we have some avid listeners that were at that party. Thank you for coming. Excellent.
If you want to know what happened at the party, you certainly can either email us at the show. We'll fill you in. We'll fill you in on the back end of some of the things that you may have missed while you were participating in them. But let us know, and we're happy to tell you what a great time you had.
It was a great. And you did have a great time.
And you had a phenomenal time.
Yeah, but it was good because I liked it because it was it was about 2 weeks before the actual holiday, so it gave everybody a nice launch point into the holiday season. And you know, several people came up to me after and they said, you know what, I really wasn't in the holiday spirit until after.
I am now.
That's right, and that's what we're here for.
Visited by the ghosts of Christmas present.
Christmas
right there.
present.
That's
yeah,
right.
There were some Christmas presents. All right. So what are we talking about today?
So we've talked about this before. We like to keep a running theme all throughout the year on the show that it's always the end of the year. Maybe it's fiscal year, maybe it's calendar year. Who knows? You could have any time of the year. But
maybe it's April.
That's right. Maybe it's April. It's the end of the tax year. It's always the end of some year. So we are talking at this time of the year, end of 2019, what we're calling 7 deadly estate planning sins.
7.
There's a bunch of. I mean, again, we can focus on the idea that in literature, there are the 7 deadly sins. For those of you who are fans of the movie Seven, you probably know this. Lust, gluttony, greed, laziness, wrath, envy, and pride. We're not going to get into any of those personal issues right now. I know we know plenty of people who suffer from one, a few, or all of those things. But there's other things that we want you to think about.
That may have been what happened at the party. The gluttony and the
there was some gluttony. There was some
gluttony.
Wasn't
lazy. Nobody was lazy.
First of all, there was no lust.
Nope.
Okay? For those of you who weren't at the show, there was no lust. No. There was no lust.
And no laziness.
No laziness. No. Might have been a little bit of envy.
There was some envy. Yeah.
But there definitely was some pride. There was some pride. There was definitely some pride. People are proud of some of the things they did, whether they should be or not. That's a different story. But some people were very proud of some of the things that they did.
Or the sarcastic question: are you proud of yourself?
That's right. You proud of that? You proud of that? You proud of doing that? So there are 7 deadly sins, if you will, that we want to raise your awareness around at the end of 2019 that you need to make sure, or we hope, if you will, that you address these issues because, as we've talked about on the show before, our job is to give you information that in a normal setting would sound boring and would make you run in the other direction. But obviously we bring it to you in a much more entertaining and fanciful manner so that you actually remember these things because of the way they're presented and explained, which we think is a whole reason for tuning in.
There you go.
So are we taking a break or are we just diving right in?
No. That's the teaser.
Quick break because the sponsors, they get mad if we don't do this. They get very upset.
All right, we'll be right back on Money in the Law for the 7 deadly holiday sins of your estate planning. I don't know if they're holiday, but
Stay tuned. Get your pen out. Write them down.
We'll be right back.
All right. And we're back. Money in the Law, My FM 101.3, the WMRC, the great WMRC, your station of all stations right here in the greater Milford community and giving back on a very regular basis. Before the show started, we were actually chit-chatting with our producer extraordinaire, Ray, who makes us sound and look like $1 million. And he was mentioned something about.
It makes it look like $1 million. Just I don't know how he does that.
Yeah, I mean he looks like
he
$1 million.
Says not. Yeah,
it's practice. He was talking about being as part of what do they call it?
A giving group.
A giving group,
yeah.
Which I thought was a very unique approach. And I think the way he explained it to us was a group of folks get together, and there's a commitment. There's a financial commitment. And the financial commitment is $400, he said, quarter?
Yeah, no, $100 a quarter, $400 a year. So not, it's not a backbreaker. So,
okay.
but the more the merrier, right? So if you get in, so let's say if you're, he said, I think he had 25 people that are current members right now.
That's right.
So that's $2,500 a quarter that comes in, and then they meet, and then I think the way he described it is they people kind of lobby for a charity or an organization that they want to give money to, and they vote on it or they draw it out of a hat, and then that group ends up giving some money to an organization that needs it.
A local charity that everybody's aware of. In many cases, people are somewhat involved. They have a connection to. It's not some random. I think there's some randomness to how they sort of choose and lobby for what's going to get the money. But obviously this is all done with the right intentions, and obviously the hope would be that ultimately it kind of always comes around to you. You're going to have your choice your choice organizations. But to your point, it was a great way to give away, a not, in many cases, not an insignificant amount of money that could really make a difference to some of these organizations. And again, group of people get together. There's a social component to it, and
well, they said they weren't doing it at the library, right?
oh no, though I believe it was at some type of a local establishment.
Local
So now,
establishment,
of course,
right.
you're doubling down, right? You're giving to a local community entity.
You're meeting at a local
and you're
establishment.
meeting at a local establishment.
Supporting
and
that
you're
local
local
establishment.
So,
Supporting local.
I mean, there's two wins right there.
They may have mentioned a brewery or two.
Well,
craft.
small business owner. Small business owner.
Small
Yep,
business
small-
owner
in a
here in
particular-
Milford.
Yep. No,
Crafty.
not here in Milford. No. And
Well, the one that they
surrounding
met,
town.
the one, but he also mentioned the one in Milford as
Oh,
well.
there's-
That,
well, I
that
mean-
they both I think they alternated these. Two
I don't think he's a stranger to either one
No,
of them. I don't think that. I think he does not have to put those in his GPS to get there. So, great idea. So, if you want more advice or more information
Call the
on how to
station.
set up a giving group, call the station. Email us at the show at moneyandlaw.net, and do something different, something that mixes it up and helps you get out and meet some people, do some good. So, keep it on your list. Everybody wins. Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. All right.
All right, so we're talking about the 7
let's talk
deadly
let's talk
estate
the
planning
sins,
sins.
yeah.
Let's dive right into this thing. So the first one that we talk about at the firm all the time is you don't have one.
Yeah.
That's your
Laziness.
biggest
Laziness.
mistake, right?
That's right. That's lazy.
You don't have an estate plan. Now, first of all, for those of you who have minor children, shame on you. All right? Shame on you.
Yeah.
Now, we tell people all the time, don't worry. The state has a plan. So if you don't have an estate plan and you have no idea who would become the guardian of your kids,
They'll figure it out for you.
don't worry.
Yeah.
I mean, you're worried about people fighting over your dog's playing poker picture that you have hanging in the living room or in the man cave. I'm telling you, the knives are going to come out when it comes time to fight over the kids and the grandkids, right? This is where we've talked about this on the show a million times. People who you may not, for any number of reasons, want to be named or want to be the guardians of your kids. This is where people in their mind say, this is where I'm going to make up for it, right? This is where I'm going to reset my karma with the world. I may have been the world's worst uncle, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, but if something happens to you, this is where they look at each other and they hit each other and they say, you know what, this is our chance to make it up. This is our chance to get it right. And then they end up experimenting on your kids to get all of their stuff worked out through your own family members.
Unfortunately, this is the first one because we could spend 2 shows on this on the first one. So you being from of a financial background, me being of a financial background, so money is something that we're both familiar with.
And we like.
And well, it's
like
it doesn't hurt, right?
No,
it gives you flexibility,
Yeah,
right?
we
It gives
like
you
it,
flexibility.
yeah.
But as I will say in the same breath, it's only money. So when we say this to our clients all the time when the estate question comes up, what is do you have an estate plan? And particularly if they have minor children, just like Jay said, I'll say, look, that's really the primary and the standalone reason of why you need to do this.
Yes.
Because your money, if you're concerned about your money, your property, your stuff, your boat, your cars, your house, your Cape House, whatever, that's all going to, the state actually does have a formula that will figure all that out. And there's a process that they'll figure if you die interstate or intestate, if you die without an estate plan. Your children, however, who's going to be the guardian of your children? That first and foremost has to be something that you care about because you want to take care of your children, and by not having an estate plan or not having a plan for if something were and you're not doing this in the likelihood it's going to happen.
No, it's a tragedy.
You do it this is in the very unlikely event that both you and your spouse in many cases pass away.
But I think what you bring up a great point, and that point is this: there is a very specific distribution plan over where your stuff goes.
Right.
All right? So something happens to you, your money in the bank, that's going to go somewhere. Even if you do nothing about it, right? To John's point, the state has a formula that says if you die without a will, this is who gets your house.
Here's
this is
the
who gets
pecking order.
That's
right.
right.
Yep.
This
Here's
is
the
who gets your
distribution
this
plan.
is who gets your car. This is who gets your anything, your motorcycle, your boat. Exactly what you just said. But here's what they don't have. They don't have a plan that says, and here's who gets
Yeah.
your children, right? Your minor children. Here's where they go. Okay.
Here's where you want, better yet, here's where you want them to go. Here's where you think is the best way, because you've had your chance to make that decision.
Oh,
You've
yes.
had your chance by making your estate plan, but once you die, guess what? You don't have that chance anymore unless you have an estate plan. You can't say, I don't like my brother. I don't like I don't like his wife. I don't like her husband. I mean, you could.
My parents don't have the mojo for it, right?
Yeah, right.
They're 75, and it's a lot of work to raise a 3-year-old, and they might not have that gas in the tank that they had when I was their 3-year-old.
Right.
And so now, and by the way, everybody gets to raise their hand, right? You think Thanksgiving can be a disaster with everybody in there screaming and yelling and doing all that stuff? Put everybody in a courtroom to try to fight over your kids. It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
And here's an even better situation, because so let's say, and again, this is the bad news getting worse, right? So there's an argument over who's going to be the guardian of your children. Guess what? Oftentimes, people, if they have beneficiaries, like not a will, not an estate plan, but you have, say, a life insurance policy.
Sure.
Let's say you have a retirement plan. Those don't go through probate. They don't go through your will. So those go through. They have a named beneficiary. What do you see a lot of people do? They'll name their husband or wife as the primary beneficiary. Who's the contingent beneficiary? The minor children. They'll name the minor children. If they haven't figured it out, they'll name the minor children as their. And guess so that means so if Billy gets that $1 million life insurance policy, Billy's 10 years old. Guess what? Guess who's in charge of that $1 million?
Somebody's got to be named Billy's guardian.
Yeah.
And Billy's guardian is going to be in charge of that.
And Billy's
right?
guardian is going to have full access to that $1 million.
Right, to take care of Billy is the theory, right? That's what's supposed to happen.
That's right.
But does it happen? Who knows?
So now, so could that change somebody's motivation as to whether they want to be the guardian of somebody?
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Billy is he's the sole heir of $2 million in cash from life insurance, and oh, by the way, the beach house, down in Newport.
Well, how about the beach house you don't have? But you know what? Billy loves the beach.
Yeah.
And because Billy loves the beach, you know what we should do for Billy? We should buy
him
Billy
that beach house.
a beach house.
That we always
Now,
wanted.
we'll take him down because he likes it. And if we get to use it, well, I mean, we're really using it for Billy because Billy likes the beach.
Yeah.
And by the way, don't remember, if I want to be, if we're all fighting to be the guardian, for me to win to be the guardian, you have to lose.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not going to get up in court and say, Your Honor, I'd like to be the guardian. John here would also be a
do a great job.
phenomenal
No,
guardian because
it's a fight.
he's a stable guy. He's got his act together. He's got a great home life. No, the answer is,
it's a political campaign.
Your Honor, I would like to be the guardian because John is a degenerate, okay? And the last thing you want is kids around him, right? Matter of fact, while we're here, could you put something on his ankle? I mean, so we can keep track of him? Because he's riffraff, right? This is what happens. It's a zero-sum game. There's winners and there's losers.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of things said in an attempt to be the winner, and it's going to leave a mark. So if you're thinking, oh, don't worry, they'll all figure it out. Believe me, everybody, and you know this, everybody has opinions about other people in your family, especially the outlaws. And so if you think this is going to be a smooth process, buckle up for the ride. This is, by the way, I don't go to court a ton because we try to stay out of court as much as we can. But
Danny Caffey.
But if you want to go, and you want to see some enjoyment, right? Go sit around a probate court and watch these people fight it out. And unfortunately, it can be quite entertaining as somebody who's just sitting on the sidelines watching it, because you will see this play out in real time. You will see two attorneys get up and sling mud all day long in an attempt for their client to win whatever it is, a custody case, a guardianship case, as to why they should be the one that gets the pick. So again,
how do I fix it? How do I avoid all that?
Just call my office and we'll have you have an estate plan. Everybody who doesn't have an estate plan, if you're driving around right now, raise your hand. Okay. Now, all of you who raise your hands, pick up the phone, call my office, make an appointment. We'll line you up for after the first of the year, and we will solve this problem pronto. All right?
So the other thing is what I one of the things that a lot of my clients who don't have estate plans, they're overwhelmed by the whole, like they're like, well, they said I don't just need a will, I need this, I need a whole, which we've talked about before, but at the end of the day, if you have nothing more than just, if we're talking about the guardianship of your kids, that happens in your will. That's your will.
That's right.
So
That's right.
so all the other, like if you, let's say your estate planning attorney is telling you got to do all this other stuff, and probably for very good reason, but that just it's too big of a step. It's too big of an elephant you have to eat in one time. So at least the will will then that'll determine the guardianship, and as we said, the money will figure itself out. The money, the money will, the state or your will or the interpretation of your will, you'll find the money. But if the guardianship is clearly stated, if it says that me and my wife both die and Jay Marsden is going to raise my kids, then that's clear that it's in will. It's all set and it's not arguing.
And if you do choose to call the office, we will make this as simple as we possibly can. We will give this a 30,000-foot look. We will explain it to you in English so that you will understand, what am I doing? This piece of paper names who's in charge of your kids if you're not here. This piece of paper names who's in charge of your money if you're not here. That will ultimately go to your kids. We will make it literally basic blocking and tackling. We spend a fair amount of time doing this for people who come in and say, Jay, I got this estate plan from a lawyer, and he spoke lawyer really well, but he didn't speak me. And so could you help translate this for me? And we will do that for you, and it will be crystal clear as to what's going to go on and how it's going to work.
All right, do that. All right. Sin number 2.
Sin number 2. We just talked about it. You don't understand your estate plan, right?
Why? Why don't I understand it?
Because the lawyer speaks lawyer. He doesn't speak client. We speak client. So if you come into the office, and we see this all the time, for those of you who have done your estate plan, if you were the victim of the gigantic leather binder that you had to take a two-wheeler to get it out to your car, all right? There's a lot in there, okay? We can help you.
No one's going to read.
We can help you unpack that. We can help you streamline that. We can help you simplify and understand that. And again, the very basic blocking and tackling language that people want to come out of their office with when they talk to their attorney and say, I get it. I have an estate plan and I know what my estate plan does.
But even more important is the reason you need to understand it. You need to understand it for the obvious reasons of that you should understand what you're doing and what you're paying for. But the whole reason you're doing this estate plan, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, the whole reason you're doing this is because you want this situation to happen after you die. So really, when you die, that's when this goes into effect.
Oh yeah.
So when you die, for this may be news to people, you're dead. So So there's no more meetings. There's no more like kind of anxiety or stress. There's no more worrying about like renewing your driver's license or any of that. You're dead. So this is why you need to understand it, because you need to know, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I know I can explain to you why, because I want to make sure that Jay is the guardian of my kids, and that's all I know. Jay's the guardian of my kids, and I know that I want my kids to have all of our assets and to use it for reasons 1 through 5. That's what I want.
Well, and the other thing is, we tell clients all the time, here's your estate plan, and then they kind of get a little overwhelmed because our estate plan tends to not be as tall from a paperwork perspective as some of these other estate plans. We try to keep it simple and keep it straightforward.
You're saving the environment.
And we're saving the environment.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is, I tell all of our clients, look, we may only use 30% of what's in your estate plan. So don't worry about the 100%. Don't worry about the fact that you don't think you understand 70% of it, because there's a lot of things that are part of your estate plan that we're trying to cover a lot of contingencies, most of which will never even happen. So when we give you a stack of documents and say sign here, there's a laundry list of things that the people that you're naming in your plan to help you out with have the authority to do, and most of it may never even happen, right? They might not even have to do most of it, or they might have to do it for 20 years. And here's the other thing. If you have questions when you're working with us and you want to get a sense of how this works,
call
us.
Wait, you can call?
You can call.
Oh, yeah.
Call all day long.
Wait, your number is on that?
Oh, you get your phone. You get our phone number. Yeah, we don't disappear.
No.
You get your phone number. You get a piece of paper that says, if I have a question, give us a call. Guess what else you can do? You can email us. Right?
We've
I have
said
a
it
question.
before.
I have a
We've said it
question.
before.
I don't know. I'm not sure I know how this. Great.
Yeah.
Call me. Well, let's
Because you know
talk
why?
about it.
Because Jay is talking. Because at that point, Jay will be talking about something that he's created, right? He's like Michelangelo talking about the Sistine Chapel. He's like, do you want to talk about that? Because I'd love to talk.
It's
about
like,
that.
you know what it is? It's like ask, you know what it is? This is how we view it. Because you're part of the Marsden Law family. It's like asking us to talk about one of my kids.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, Jay, do me a
How
favor.
much time
Tell
you
me
got?
about one of your kids. Oh, pull up a chair. We're
Yeah.
going to be here a while. Hey, Jay, I have some questions about this estate plan that you helped develop for me. Well, you know what? You're a member of the family. Let's talk about that estate plan.
Yeah.
Let's make sure you understand it. Let's make sure you get your questions answered. And guess what? If we have to bring some people in so that other people understand it, because more people having knowledge
Why
is
not?
power.
I get to talk more.
Let's do a conference call. I get to talk about my favorite subject, me,
Yeah.
right? Helping you. That's what we want to talk about. So if there's things like that we can help out, let us know. But we're always happy to go over it, answer your questions, make sure you understand what's going on. And if we need to do something about it, let us know. And again, remember, when you're working with the law firm in this capacity, if you're one of our clients, this isn't adversarial. I'm not a lawyer trying to coax you into do something that's not good for you, but it's good for my client. Because remember, you're the client. I
You have a lawyer.
I take my directions from you. You have a lawyer. You pick up the phone, and my job, I've taken a sworn oath to do what I can for your best
unbreakable
interest.
oath.
That's right.
Yeah.
Your best interest. That's what we're doing. So pick up the phone, use the relationship, get the most out of it. That's the best way to go about it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about the next 5 deadly sins.
It's on the same page.
Well, we're going to take a
here.
break anyway.
What are you
We'll
doing?
be right back. Money in the Law, My FM 101.3.
I have a lot of notes. And we're back. Money in the Law, My FM 101.3. Jay Marsden with the
almost like
Marsden
we're
Law
hosting.
Group.
So-
John Dro here, Main Effort Financial. You guys are located, I believe, right down the street from us in downtown Holliston.
Yep, it's 5 Iron.
How do we find you on the web?
Your 5 Iron. Maineffort.com.
Nice.
www.maineffort.com. We've had that domain for 20 years now.
www.j, the letter J, marsdenlaw.com. That's how you find us.
Sweet J. Yeah,
You can look
that's
us
right.
up on Google. We're right there in the top front page, above the fold. Come find us. We're available, and we are happy to help you out. We're talking about the 7 deadly sins
We're
of
on
estate
sin
planning.
3.
We're on number 3. We've sinned twice already.
Yeah.
We like it. It fits us well. We're on number 3. This is a little bit more on John's side of the table, but check your beneficiary forms. Why is that important?
Well, for those of you who've been listening the whole
Year.
the whole year, this whole show, we alluded to it earlier. So you have some things that don't go through your will. So you have some property that gets passed not through your will. Those things are things like life insurance. And the 2 primary things are life insurance and retirement accounts. So your 401k or IRA, Roth IRA, those have what are known as named beneficiaries. For those of you who have done them, you say, when you filled out the form, you have a primary beneficiary and contingent beneficiary. That's great. You do that, let's say you bought that life insurance policy back when you were 23 years old and you first get married, and boom, that's it. And the 30-year life insurance goes by, and obviously, your beneficiary was going to be your wife, but your contingent beneficiary was probably your parents at that point because you didn't have any kids at that time, right? Or you didn't do it. You didn't have an estate plan at that point because you were only 23. So you said, I didn't do an estate plan, so I don't have there's no trust in place to name as a beneficiary. So when you do your estate plan, part of this is you need to update, and this is an ongoing thing. You should always know who your beneficiaries are, particularly in the case of as you have a family that's getting older, that whoever the guardian was of your children when they were minors. Let's say that now your children are all adults. And you didn't name them as named contingent beneficiaries, or you get remarried, or for a whole host of reasons. Update those beneficiaries. That's important to know what they do.
Well, and here's where it becomes a problem for all you players out there, right? You bought some life insurance back in the day because
from your buddy.
That's right. We always
from your roommate. Yeah.
Hey, Tom, just got a job at Prudential. Want to see if you're around, maybe Saturday night. I'm going to swing by the house. I get some material I'd like to show you, i.e., I'm going to try to line you up for a nice whole life policy.
Which you need.
Commission
right
number
now.
1.
Yeah.
And I just want to get that going. And so, of course, you say, well, I don't really have anybody named as a beneficiary, but I'm dating this girl. I'm going to put her on there as a beneficiary because, why not, right?
Why not, right? I can
Or
tell her.
she may be there and she may help you out.
Yeah.
They may, and by the way, it's one of your buddies, right? There might even be some cocktails involved in the meeting, and you think it's hysterical to put your girlfriend down as your beneficiary. Well, guess when it's not hysterical?
Yeah.
When your wife shows up at the insurance company to collect the check and it's not her name on the
Oh,
insurance policy. That's going to leave a mark, right?
So, and the good news is it's easy to change. It's
Yes.
easy to fix. So it's one form. Send it to whoever the custodian is of your insurance policy or IRA. One form changes, updates the beneficiary. You don't need to have any signatures or anything. You sign. If you're the owner of the policy,
Yeah, you may
and
even
if
do it
you're-
online.
If you're the owner of the IRA, yep, you can even do it for many 401ks. Allow you to do it online. You can go ahead and change that. Get it done. Do that ASAP.
Well, and there's one other thing about the beneficiary piece, and this is something we've talked a lot about with clients lately, which is for moms and dads out there who have a sizable retirement account, sizable 401k, and have sort of done the math, and maybe they're working with somebody like all the great folks over at Main Effort Financial, and they say to themselves, you know what? We won the game. Right? My 401k has done well over the last couple of years, and we put a lot of money away, and we don't have a lot of bills. And between our Social Security and our pensions, we have a sizable 401k. And you know what? Maybe we don't need all of the 401k to go to the surviving spouse, right? Mom and dad sit down and say, look, between mom's money and some of the money that she's put aside, if mom got $1 million IRA, well, that'd be great.
Right.
It wouldn't do much for her because she's never going to spend it all.
Right.
So maybe you break it up. Maybe you say, initially the game plan was mom got all of the IRA, dad got all of the IRA of the surviving, spouse, or the spouse who predeceases. Maybe the answer now is, I don't need all of it. I need 75% of it. I need 60% of it. So you may be at a point where you can change the beneficiary. You can accelerate some distributions if something happened to one of you guys, and the kids could then benefit to some degree sooner rather than later, which given their point in their lives might make a huge difference, right? So there's some thoughts around how to maybe tweak your beneficiaries, not just make it a binary A to B. Maybe it goes A to B, C, D, E.
Recommendation, think that through. Like,
talk to your advisor.
Recommendation,
First and foremost.
Talk to your advisor, talk to your attorney. Talk about, because there's all kinds of things that happen when you start, changing your beneficiary. So don't just, because you heard this show and say, hey, this, they said you should do it. No. When you're essentially part of naming your beneficiaries is creating your entire estate plan. When you're doing that, all of that needs to be discussed and laid out so you understand. And Jay brings up a great point that oftentimes there's different strategies that you can use,
That's right.
but you're
evaluate your
Exactly.
beneficiary designations and evaluate your strategy.
There's ways to do that.
Around your beneficiary designations.
Okay, number
That's
4.
That's it. Number 4. We love this one in our
Yeah,
world. We love
yeah,
this one in our world.
yeah.
Now, we love it for 2 reasons. Number 1, have you properly funded your trust? Now, if you haven't, don't worry about it. I thank you. Okay? Because what that means is that we would then have a fair amount of probate work to do in 2020, and we love probate work.
Yeah,
We love probate work. Why? Well,
'Cause
for
it's
number 1
hourly.
reason, it's
We bill it
expensive.
hourly, yeah.
It costs a lot of money. Not me, it costs you a lot of money if you haven't funded your trust, if you have the opportunity to fund your trust.
Right.
Now, what does funding your trust mean? Very simply, it means going to wherever your money lives, all right? If it lives at Main Effort, then your money lives at TD. If it lives at Fidelity, it lives at Fidelity. If it lives at Merrill Lynch, it lives at Merrill Lynch. You have to go to where your money lives, and you have to say to the people at that organization, I did some estate planning, I established a trust, and I need to fund my trust with the account that ends in 1234. And those companies will...
That's my account.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
3241. So forget you heard that. So my companies, hold on, let me just check. Is this your Social Security number right here? So they will give you a form to fill out, and you will fill that form out. And so when your December account statement comes in and it's in the name of Jay Marsden, that account is in your name. When your statement comes in January and it's in the name of the Marsden Family Trust, then your account is in your trust.
But wait a minute, doesn't that mess everything up? Doesn't that change everything? So now the money's not mine anymore and blah, 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 right? Is that like...
You are absolutely correct. No, you're not. You're wrong.
I know I'm
You're
wrong.
absolutely wrong.
I
It
know.
doesn't change anything.
Changes the title on the paperwork.
Changes the name on the account. Otherwise, same tax ID number, same Social Security number. You have all the access to use the money. You can do whatever you want to do with it. It's in your revocable trust. We're not even going to talk about irrevocable.
Right.
You are in complete and total control. All you are doing is basically doing all the pre-work so that if something happens to you, the trustee, very similar job as the executor, have the ability to go into those places and say, hey, Fidelity, Jay's no longer here. I'm his backup trustee. What do you got for me? Fidelity says, here, fill this form out. You fill the form out, and now that person can do whatever they need to do with the money that's in that trust. And by the way, what are they going to do? They're going to do exactly what you told them to do.
It says right in the trust.
Because the trust tells them all their instructions. Give all of his money to his kids. There's no probate. There's no trip to probate court. Now, again, people say all the time, I read some article that says that probate thing isn't a big deal. All right? When you deal, anytime, we tell people all the time, what happens when we have to go to court? Or what happens when we have to get the court involved? The answer is, I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you know why?
Because you don't know.
Because it's court, okay?
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. I was up in the North Shore last week at the probate court, and we were trying to get a piece of property sold for somebody. They owned it, and it was in their name when they died. And so the probate court said to us, well, their will leaves everything to a trust, so it's already in the trust. The title company, who holds the big check, which is what everybody wants to have happen, says, no, it's not in the trust. It's still in their name. It was the weirdest scene ever where we're in the probate court, we're talking to the clerk magistrate, and we're saying, the people on the title company are telling us this. And the probate court says, well, they're wrong. And the title people say, well, they're wrong.
Wow, that's fun.
Right?
It sounds like we're getting things done, right? It sounds like things are going to happen fast.
We're getting things done.
Yeah.
And not only getting things done, but no one's antsy because there's not a piece of property being sold.
No.
And someone's not moving.
That's
and somebody
right.
doesn't have movers lined up.
Oh, but the tax
and somebody
bill's
doesn't have
coming
a
in.
mortgage.
Yeah.
And somebody doesn't have a light bill. And so we were in this rock and a hard place. We actually have to file a motion in court to compel compel the court to do something that the court is convinced that they don't have to do, and the people in the title company are convinced that we have to do. So again, no one's doing anything wrong. This is just stuff that happens. If this had already been placed into the trust, problem solved.
Right.
Court not even involved. Don't even have to go to court. Right? It's all done. So
I remember, the whole thing about trust, like, when you do estate planning, having a trust, having a revocable trust makes things very clean, it simplifies everything. It keeps you out of probate, right?
Yep.
It's like, it's an awesome vehicle for estate planning, particularly if you have some specific things that you want to do, like have your kids not inherit your estate right away, or or be able to kind of to drive things, they all talk about, like, kind of giving instruction from the grave.
Yeah.
The trust is what allows you to do that. However, the trust is useless unless there's something in it. Remember, a trust is a box that holds property. So you got to put the property in there. You have to make sure that the trust is properly funded.
yeah, and that's part of this. Now, again, depending on what your asset looks like, a lot of people's assets are tied up in life insurance and things like that. So that's, that stuff will make its way to the trust. It takes a little bit of different path, but it gets there. But the idea is, if you've accumulated some assets, taxable assets, real estate, things like that, and you have discussed, or you have talked about, or you have procrastinated putting things in the trust, now's your chance. Let's fill some paperwork out. Let's make some changes. Let's chip away at this. And consolidation. It's a great opportunity to consolidate things, get them all in one location, consolidate them with your advisor, who can give you all kinds of great advice and guidance around this, and make that happen from that perspective. So,
right.
Properly funding your trust. Quick break.
No, we're up
Then
against
we'll come
clock.
back.
No.
Oh, no, whoa,
We're going.
All right,
Yeah,
let's go.
we're
Go for it.
Yep.
Go, Tiger.
So we are now we're at 5, 6, and 7. We got to knock 3 out. Easy, right?
Oh, piece of cake.
Easy. All right, number 5, go.
You don't properly title your assets.
So how's that different from the whole trust thing? So what is that?
Well, this is, for example, this is how do you want your property owned, right? So, for example, if you want your property owned jointly, then it sounds a little bit obvious, but you have to have 2 names on that property.
That's
now,
right.
we see this with real estate a lot, where somebody says,
My name's on the
I own a
deed."
piece
Yeah.
of property and I want to add I bought it when I was engaged, or I bought it before I had a significant other, and now I have a significant other, and I want to add them to the deed, right? So there's some paperwork to fill out to put somebody on a piece of property, or you may want somebody taken off of a piece of property, right? So, mom says I have one property, I want it to go to my one child, and I like to try to avoid probate if I can, and I want to do a couple of things, and I should get that done. There's an urgency. Let's get it done, because if we don't get it done, then it goes through probate and goes through all the things that we just talked about. So if you want to have your assets titled jointly with somebody, make sure you do that. And more importantly, by the way, there's also another piece of it. If you want your property owned jointly, some people don't want their property owned jointly in such a way that if they died, that property would go to the other owner.
Yeah.
Some people want
Bank
their property,
accounts, right? Yeah,
bank
bank
accounts, things
accounts.
like that. That's right. If
Yeah,
you have
for
somebody on your
overaging
bank account,
parents, yeah.
that's right. That's right. If your kids on your bank account, something happens to you, they're going to get the account. Are they going to then share it with their siblings if that's your wishes?
They don't have to.
Well, They don't have to.
And if it's and that's but the problem is if it's a sizable account, right? And you and your let's say let's say an account worth $500,000. We'll make up a number, right? If it's a sizable account, you say, well, yeah, but you're going to now share that with your brother with your brother and two sisters. Sure, I can share it, but it's coming in a different way. It's my money now. In order for me to give them money, I have to gift it to them, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's not. They don't inherit it. I'm giving it to them, which opens up a whole different category of how they're getting the money, and it counts towards their lifetime gift. So you avoid that. You avoid that by making sure that everything is titled properly, because that's where you can see that as an issue.
If somebody calls the office, this happens all the time. One of two people calls, either the person who's on the account, and they call up and they say, hey, Jay, my mother passed away, my father passed away, I was on a joint account with them, there's $400,000 in it, and so what do I have to do with it? Do I have to give it to my siblings? Well, the answer is you are under no obligation to give it to your siblings. If you choose to do so, you are doing it out of the goodness of your heart. And then putting aside all the family dysfunction issues, that's the answer to that question. And by the way, we get the other call. Hey, Jay, my sister was on an account with my mother or my father. They died. There was $400,000 in the account. She's going to be writing me a check for $200,000 because it's just her and I, right? The answer is the same. No. She's under no obligation to write you a check for $200,000. But how was maybe both of you should have been on that account.
This goes back to one of our previous sins, is not understanding, right? But then isn't like invariably the next argument is like, well, no. In the will it says that everything's 50-50, right? In the will it says, that's right, that's what it says in the will, but that's not what it says on the title of that account.
That's right.
That's right, because that account's not in the that's a property, that's a jointly owned property, because you titled that account and you said, this is you, this is me, we both join this. And that's how, when a joint account, it's joint with right of survivorship, which means that when one person dies, there's a survivor, and the survivor says, whoop, I get all that money.
And that does not go according to the will. The will only applies to things that you own in your name by yourself. And you bring up a great point. We hear that all the time. That was the sister's first comment. Jay, but my mother has a will, leaves everything to me and my sister. I know she does, but this account, because she was joint on it, doesn't go through the will. Nope. You are SOL is what we call that in the office. It's a legal term.
It's a legal term.
It's a legal term.
All right, last two. We got to wrap this up.
All right. You don't coordinate your different planning aspects, right? You have a healthcare proxy. You have a power of attorney. You have somebody who might be your HIPAA agent. You have trustees. You have executors. There's a lot of jobs and there's a lot of moving parts. And you need to figure out, do I have the right people in the right places? And are they all going to be able to work to their best ability based on whatever their talents are? You have a daughter or a son who's a nurse. You have a daughter or a son who's got a better head for business. Those people might get different jobs. They don't always have to get the same job. They could be different. They could be the same. But you don't look at them by themselves. You look at them how they all work together. Because if you have somebody who's your power of attorney and then you make somebody else the trustee of your trust and they don't get along, siblings don't get along, when the power of attorney, when it comes time for that person to turn money over to the trustee, when they then lose control of it, they may pump the brakes on that plan and say, you know what, I'm not doing that because I want to be in control. All kinds of issues about why they wouldn't do that. That becomes part of the issue. So you have to coordinate all the different aspects of your plan and figure out what that's going to look like, because otherwise you could be setting yourself up for some real problems.
And that comes back to not understanding your plan or not thinking it through, in the sense that, like, you may, and even not setting it up properly in the beginning, because you may say, look, this person, my son may be or my daughter may be the best person to be the executor of my will. But as time may go on, their situation may change and they may not be 10 years ago they were, 10 years later they're not. But because you didn't understand your estate plan, or you didn't review it later on, or you didn't update it, now you're in a position where, like, you may have them, and like you said, there could be some kind of family dysfunction. There could be something that's going on that's going to cause things not to happen the way you want them to happen.
Oh, they may have some challenges in their own life. They may be in the middle of a messy, ugly divorce. They may have some substance abuse issues. They just may not be the person that they were for any number of reasons, some good, some bad, when they started down this project. And now all of a sudden you say to yourself, they were my healthcare proxy 20
they're your
years ago.
healthcare proxy,
I don't
right,
want
yeah,
them
yeah.
now. I don't want them now.
Exactly.
They've had a complete conversion. They
Yeah.
see the world completely differently than the way I see it.
Right.
And I don't think that they have the mojo to exercise what I want them to do when the time comes. And I'm really concerned about that. And I need to change it up.
All right, tease the last one. What is it?
Go ahead.
Okay.
do it.
Review, right?
Review,
this thing. Review it, right? I mean, you don't have to review it every month. You don't even have to review it every 6 months. A year could be a lot, but review this on a regular basis. When I say on a regular basis, meaning then review it like at least as long as you understand it on an annual basis, you're going to be in great shape. But definitely, if there's a change, let's say you have a child that graduates college. Let's say you get remarried. Let's say you have, let's say you have another child, right? Or any kind of a change that is you need to come back and review this. You may think you know it. You may think you have it. You may think you remember it, but that's just it. You probably don't remember. Oftentimes, like with our accounts, like we'll have a review with people just to remind them why they did what they did.
That's right.
Like what you're like, well, I made him as the executor of my will because why?
Well, how about this? It doesn't even matter why. It doesn't even matter the why of how your plan came together. Is it still what you want?
That's right.
Doesn't matter why they get named. Doesn't matter whether you flipped a coin, whether you pulled it out of a hat. It doesn't matter. Do you still want that person to be the person that makes the decisions for you? And for all you snowbirds out there, all right, who are packing your bags and calling on your friends to tell them how nice the weather is
have so
down
many
in Venice,
snowbird
Florida,
listeners, yeah.
and all this crazy stuff, keep in mind, remember this, everybody, remember this. This is your plan. John said,
I know where this is
review
going.
your plan. This is your plan, okay? So when you're sitting around the pool,
Snowbirds.
at the never-ending perpetual happy hour, it's always 5 o'clock somewhere, ha, 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 and stop using that phrase, by the way, it's so overplayed. But when you're sitting around and you're all kibitzing about what
doesn't
supplemental
matter.
Medicare
Matter what
plan
time
you're
it
on,
is.
right? Are you on Silver Script? Do you have a Part D plan? Remember, this is your plan, all right? If somebody else has an irrevocable trust and you don't have an irrevocable trust, there may be a reason for that, all right? They may have very little by way of money. You may have a pile of money. And an irrevocable trust may not make sense for you. This is your plan. And the important thing about reviewing your plan is so that when you are sitting around at that full contact sport that is the chit-chat in Florida,
That is retirement.
you will know exactly why you have what you have, and you won't be pulled into these people who practice Google law and who are going to tell you all the things that you should have, because you'll know, right? You'll know because why? Because you know you can pick up the phone and call Main Effort Financial, and they'll tell you why you have the retirement plan that you have. And you can call the Marsden Law Group and say, I don't have an irrevocable trust. Should I have one? Well,
Where's my irrevocable trust? I
right.
want one.
That's right. And then the answer will be, we talked about this. At the time we put your plan together, it didn't make sense. If you want to revisit it, either I will fly down and we'll talk about it and I will bill you for that, or you can wait till you come home and we'll talk about it when you get back.
That is the kind of service we're looking for.
That's how we roll, right? But again, it's your plan. Your plan is different from everybody else's plan. You may have no dysfunction in your plan. They may have a ton of dysfunction in their family. That's why they have a corporate trustee and you don't have a corporate trustee. So
It's a
remember,
quick call. It's a quick call.
it is your plan. Embrace it, understand it, update it, review it, and if you need to make changes to it, call your attorney and make those changes. Make it happen.
Oh, all right. That's it. Wrap
That's
it up.
it. This
All
is
right.
our last holiday, Hanukkah.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Have a great, great holiday. By the way, you can download this during the holidays when you have all your family and a room full of folk around you. Put it on. I find it to be much more engaging
So much
than
more
some of
fun.
that other music. I mean, at this point, you're all tapped out on the holiday music.
Not quite.
Put this on. This
Not
is
quite.
better. This is better background.
This is a good buffer in between.
Way
in
better.
between sets.
Yep.
Right.
Put this on. It's much better. During dinner, for example, you want to kind of stir up some conversation. This is a good dinner
How about
conversation.
that irrevocable trust.
Huh?
All right.
Pass the potatoes.
See everybody after the holidays.
After the holidays.
All right. Have a happy, happy holiday.
Happy
We'll see you
holiday.
next week.
Merry Christmas.